Good evening. Thanks for joining us on India Business Hour. I'm Shereen Bhan. The headlines we're tracking for you tonight. Private sector investments showing steady growth, says the government's chief economic advisor, Anantha Nageshwaran. Adds now is not the time to worry about the risks of overheating, even as he admits that some risk aversion is understandable. Electric vehicle makers say the abrupt reduction in FAME subsidies will slam the brakes on sales. Bajaj Auto says the industry will not see breakneck growth without subsidies, expects sales to be sluggish in the near term. Aviation regulator, the DGCA, gives Go First a 30-day deadline to submit a comprehensive and sustainable revival plan, asks the airline to ensure it has all the required resources available to restart operations. The government looks to soften the angel tax blow for several classes of foreign investors. Investment from 21 countries into unlisted Indian startups will also not attract the angel tax. New valuation rules are yet to be notified. Wipro Executive Chairman Rishad Premji took a voluntary pay cut of 50% in the last fiscal as the IT major's profits eroded. His overall pay stood close to $1 million. Premji had taken a pay cut of 31% during the pandemic as well. Facebook's parent Meta lets go of top Indian executives in its latest phase of layoffs. With this, the company has laid off nearly 21,000 employees in 2 phases globally. 7 days to go for the June 1st deadline for the U.S. debt ceiling. Deadlock remains even as negotiations make progress. Fitch puts the U.S. credit rating on negative watch, citing the brinkmanship over the debt ceiling. Florida Governor Ron DeSantis announces his bid for the White House on Twitter with Elon Musk in attendance. The announcement was marred by repeated technical glitches. He will challenge Donald Trump for the Republican candidacy. Union Home Minister Amit Shah will visit Manipur for 3 days as violence flares. Once again, appeals to both groups to maintain peace, warns that those who are involved in violence will not be spared. 21 opposition parties set to boycott the inauguration of the new parliament building on Sunday. Government sources say 18 NDA partners and 7 other political parties will attend. Also on the show, women secure top 4 positions in the civil services exam this year. We speak with the UPSC topper Ishita Kishore on her recipe for success. Well, straight to the day's trading action. A late recovery on the Lal Street that helped the Nifty and the Sensex end mildly in the green. The Nifty reclaiming 18,300. HDFC Bank, ITC, Reliance leading from the front. Mid-caps outperformed the blue chips while banks continued to underperform. The big newsmaker tonight, the chief economic advisor Anantha Nageshwaran, addressed the annual session of the Confederation of Indian Industry. Speaking at the event, he said private investment has started to unfold and has shown steady growth. New investment in FY21 was just over 2 lakh crore rupees. In FY22, we saw it increase to 2.7 lakh crore rupees. And if FY23 private capex has hit 3.3 lakh crore rupees, an increase of 57% over 3 years. The CA also said this is not the time to worry about overheating risks, even as he admits that some risk aversion is understandable. When asked about the government's privatization drive, the economic advisor admitted that there will be ebbs and flows. He also pointed to challenges in the form of litigation at every step. The CA also defended the government's decision to impose a 20% TCS on overseas credit card transactions, saying higher tax rate was needed, and I quote, as a deterrent to zero in on tax avoidance.
Right now, it is not the time to worry about overheating risks, and that comes much later. In fact, I would be very happy if it comes even later than it came in the previous cycles. And also, as for risk aversion and caution, to a large extent, it is understandable, given the kind of developments we have faced in the world and also in India. Barely had we finished repairing balance sheets, we had 2 years of pandemic, and then the war, its impact on commodities, and then sustained interest rate increases globally elsewhere. So to some extent, the caution is understandable because there is less visibility on demand going forward. But that said, we do see signs of the corporate sector beginning to invest. We know that the internal resource generation of companies is absolutely at a very high level, and therefore they may not necessarily have to tap either the capital market or the banking sector because they do have enough profitability to fall back on first. So I think I'm constructive and optimistic about the private sector capital formation cycle in this country. We have been waiting for it. It's already unfolding, and it's perhaps just as well that it unfolds gradually rather than too furiously. We are continuing to maintain the privatization momentum, and there will always be ebbs and flows for various reasons, and some of the processes involved are also quite time-consuming, and there are litigation challenges at every step by different stakeholders. But I think if we have to unlock the efficiency of assets, both monetization and privatization are critical. They have exempted transactions up to 7 lakhs of rupees from this TCS. So bulk of the transactions made by most of us will not be covered under this levy. There are data that are available with the government that do point out that this mechanism has been not just abused by a small set of people or who are evading taxes, but it is the volumes involved are fairly substantial.
And you can catch that entire conversation with the Chief Economic Advisor and corporate executives at 9:30 p.m. right here on CNBC TV18 on my show, On the Record. Zee Entertainment reported a weak set of numbers in Q4, missing street estimates across most parameters. The company's net loss widened to nearly 200 crore rupees. Revenue dropped 9%. Margins took a beating as well. Vedanta Group and Foxconn have appointed Mike Young as the senior vice president for its semiconductor business. With more than 30 years of experience, Young will oversee the execution of manufacturing and operational processes of the company. Now, this comes at a time as the company gears up to set up its first semiconductor fabrication plant in Gujarat. That's the latest on the Vedanta Foxconn joint venture, appointing Mike Young as senior vice president. Staying with that sector, American tech player NVIDIA is on track to enter the $1 trillion club after it reported stellar earnings in the March quarter. The strong outlook is on the back of rising demand for its artificial intelligence processors. Shares of the chipmaker up over 20% in early trade. And if it continues to surge further, NVIDIA could join the elite group of companies like Apple, Microsoft, Amazon, which are valued at over $1 trillion. Electric vehicle makers warn that the abrupt reduction in FAME subsidies will slam the brake on sales. Speaking to CNBC TV18, Bajaj Auto's executive director Rakesh Sharma said that the industry is unlikely to see breakneck growth with the current cut, which has been sudden. He further added that sales are expected to be sluggish in the near term. Take a look.
Subsidy cuts are between, as experienced by manufacturers, are between 20,000 to 40,000. And that's a significant price rise to sort of pass on to the customer. It's a step in the right direction. It will retard the industry. It will retard it more in the first 2 or 3 months, I suspect. But then it will come back, I think, to a very saner level of growth. I would say you would not see this breakneck growth, but you will see certainly the electric industry growing at a factor, growing at higher than ICE industry. It has been a little bit of an abrupt announcement because it's just about, so there will be a shock in the system for, let's say, 1 or 2 months. But after that, we will see it coming back to a saner level of growth.
Well, that is the view on the sudden cut in FAME subsidies for two-wheelers. Ola Electric IPO is likely to hit the market by early 2024. Sources tell Money Control the company is likely to onboard Kotak Mahindra Capital and Goldman Sachs as advisors. The IPO will combine a combination of primary and secondary share offerings, and the company aims to go public before the government discontinues EV subsidies. Remember, the sun sets on EV subsidies at this point in March of 2024. Now, the latest in the Go First revival issue. The aviation regulator, the DGCA, has given the airline 30 days to submit a comprehensive and sustainable revival plan. The DGCA has told the airline to make sure that it has all the required resources available to restart operations. Danish is with us to tell us about the DGCA's directive to Go First. So the expectation was that Go First could potentially look to restart operations by the end of the month. That's clearly not the case because they haven't yet submitted a revival plan to the regulator, Danish.
Well, yes, it looks like it will take more than 30 days for Go First to resume operations, as DGCA has advised Go First to submit a plan for a sustainable revival of operations within the next 30 days. Go First has been asked to furnish details of availability of operational aircraft fleet, pilots and other personnel, maintenance arrangements, as well as details of funding or working capital. DGCA has also asked Go First to give details of arrangements with lessors and vendors, and once the airline submits their plan, DGCA will review it to take the next step. step. Go First had stopped operations earlier this month due to most of its fleet being grounded due to Pratt & Whitney engine issues. And recently, the NCLAT also gave a slight relief to the airline. But now the next 30 days are really crucial as the airline has to submit its resumption plan to the government.
Danish, many thanks. Wipro's Executive Chairman Rishad Premji has taken a voluntary pay cut of 50% in the last fiscal as the IT major's profits eroded. According to a filing with the US regulator, Premji's overall pay stood at close to $1 million in FY23 compared to nearly $2 million in FY22. The compensation also included a cash bonus, part of his fixed salary. However, there were no stock options granted in FY23. Beauty and retail giant Nykaa posting a good set of numbers in Q4. The company has seen a quarter-on-quarter decline on the account of seasonality. Revenue rose 34% on a yearly basis but declined 11% sequentially. The company's CEO Falguni Nair says concerns over competition not valid. In a conversation with CNBC-TV18, she called the top-level exits at Nykaa non-events.
I think a lot of competition concerns they don't seem valid from a financial effect on our business perspective. I do remember that when I entered the business in 2012, soon after in 2013, Amazon had entered the market and everyone kept saying, how will you Amazon-proof our business? So I think the challenges for management are more about how do they take their business forward in a way that they have the consumer connect, and that's where our success lies. As far as these exits of employees were concerned, I think, again, they were a little bit non-event.
That is Nykaa's Falguni Nair. Now, the government is looking to soften the angel tax blow. As part of a two-step relaxation, the government is looking to exclude several classes of foreign investors from the tax levy. Surabhi standing by with the details. Surabhi.
Well, there is some good news for startups because the government has moved to soften the blow of the angel tax. Remember, in Budget 2023, the purview of angel tax was expanded to include even non-resident investors, and this had caused a fair amount of hue and cry. Well, not everything has been laid to rest, but there is partial relief that came in today, and that's in the form of a list of entities that have been notified that will be exempt from the angel tax provision. So what are these entities and what are these exemptions? Well, the government is saying that international government-related institutions and entities, they will be exempt from the angel tax purview. So this includes central banks, sovereign wealth funds, a lot of the multinational, multilateral organizations, and any government-controlled entity where the government ownership is in excess of 75%. So that's the first category. Banks and entities that are involved in insurance, they've also been exempt. Category 1 FPIs, which are registered with SEBI, they are also now exempt from the purview of angel tax. If they are making any investments in startups, there is going to be no angel tax levy. The government has also come up with a list of 21 countries. This is the annexure that the government has released today. And then there is three categories of investors: endowment funds, pension funds, and broad-based pooled investment vehicles. What is broad-based pooled investment vehicle? Basically, a fund which has 50 or more investors. Now, these three categories, if there are entities which are coming in from the list of 21 countries, the 21 countries which are exempt, then these three categories of investors will also be exempt from angel tax provisions. I'll just give you examples of the countries that are part of this list: USA, UK, Korea, Japan, Spain, Italy, Russia, Australia, Canada, France. So quite a few countries are part of this list, but by the way, Singapore isn't. So that's an interesting one. This offers partial relief because at least now, if a foreign investor is coming from any of these categories and these countries, then that foreign investor will be exempt from angel tax. However, the bigger issue is the valuation rule itself. What does angel tax really say? It says that any startup that is receiving any equity infusion above the fair market value will have to pay tax on that part which is above the fair market value. And the entire contention is, how do you define fair market value? So the government, in the next step, as it looks to further ease out the blow, in the next step, the government is expected to come out with these new valuation rules, and that will perhaps offer even more comprehensive relief to the startup sector.
Surabhi, many thanks. Now, Facebook's parent Meta has let go of top Indian executives in its latest phase of global layoffs. With this, the company has laid off nearly 21,000 employees across the globe in 2 phases. Nishta Pandey joins us now with more. Nishta.
This is part of Meta CEO Mark Zuckerberg's multi-billion-dollar plan to cut cost in what he calls Meta's year of efficiency. The second round of layoff will see 6,000 people being handed pink slips across global operations. While the first round focused on employees in technical roles, we learned that this round focuses on streamlining people with roles in user experience, marketing, program management, content strategy, enterprise engineering, corporate communications, and site security. Meta's Indian operations have also had to bear the brunt this time. Though there is no official number from the company on this yet, however, reports suggest that several top executives in India have been let go. And these include Avinash Pant, Director of Marketing for India, and Saket Jha Saurabh, Director of Media Partnerships. As I said, these are reports, and CNBC-TV18 is still awaiting for official confirmation on these names. With this latest phase, Meta would have laid off close to 21,000 people overall. 11,000 in the first round in November last year, and around 10,000 people in phase 2, which has been spread out over April and May.
Nishtha, many thanks for
quick decisions.
Check.
Now, women stole the limelight this UPSC season. They bagged the top 4 ranks in the civil services examination. Ishita Kishore, a Delhi University graduate from UP, secured the top spot. Another Delhi University graduate from Bihar, Garima Lohia, came second. The third and the fourth rank was secured by Uma Harathi from Telangana and Smriti Mishra from UP. Overall, 34% of the candidates who qualified for the exam this year are women. My colleague Archana Salanki caught up with the topper, Ishita Kishore, who cleared the exam in her third attempt.
The failures were also there, and I did get overwhelmed with a lot of self-doubt, with a lot of fear about what will happen, because I had left my job and I was preparing full-time. And after a whole year of preparation, if you get out at the very first stage, so it can be a little daunting. And to begin the journey again, so it did take a lot of strength. And I would tell everyone that it's okay to be fearful. Just don't let that fear stop you.
Yeah, and when you talk about self-doubt, I think it resonates with a lot of people. With great power, Ishita, comes great responsibility. What changes would you like to make once you sit on that powerful chair?
I think the opportunity to serve is something that I am very happy to have. I'm very grateful that I've been given this opportunity. But in general, I feel that the job of an administrator is so diverse, and you get to work in so many departments. And the kind of challenges are very new, the kind of departments, the teams, everything is new every few months or years. There are particular areas of interest. One is women empowerment, both at the rural level and the urban level, to create that kind of a movement where women really want to come out and participate more and have that belief in themselves. So that is one place I think I would want to contribute.
Speaking of women and their empowerment, you were raised by a single mother. I think all mothers are silent warriors, and it is her success story as well as much as it is yours. What do you have to say about that?
Definitely, sheroes are there today, and they have been there always. And the kind of care work that mothers put in, that makes them so resilient and strong, that makes their emotional quotient so strong. We say their sixth sense is always on point. And even if it is small skills like managing a kitchen, there are no Excel sheets over there. You have to just mentally calculate that. So it does create women to be in very good positions as decision makers. And I think it is time that women also think about themselves and invest in themselves. They have that sense of confidence, and they actually pursue their own dreams also. So I hope that happens. And my mother did that for me. And I hope other parents do it for their daughters.
All right. Tell me something. Which round made you the most nervous? Prelims, mains, or the interview? Where did you think that this is the toughest nut to crack?
I think as an economist, the statistics of my prelims really made me nervous. So it was 0 out of 2. And in my third attempt, I really worked on my prelims strategy. And I re-strategized it, and I wanted to ensure that I should not get out on that stage.
Well, that is Ishita Kishore, the UPSC topper this year. And from one fearless woman to another, legendary rock and roll singer Tina Turner passed away at the age of 83 after a long illness. She had suffered ill health in recent years, being diagnosed with cancer in 2016 and later kidney transplant in 2017. Turner initially found fame in a turbulent musical partnership and eventually became one of the defining icons of the 1980s as a solo artist. Well, simply the best. And with that, it is time for us to wrap up this edition of India Business Hour. Thanks very much for watching. Do stay tuned. The news continues here on CNBC-TV18.
Yes, it's okay.